the carbon credits and the trading. Thank you, Your Excellency. Sir, allow me to submit what members of parliament have told me to submit to you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, you're getting your steps in. But Moussa Faki is getting away lightly with no extra homework. So it's been noted, Excellency. Now I'd like to invite a response from the World Meteorological Organization and ask Piteri Talas, the Secretary General of WMO, to make a few remarks.
Your Excellency, the following is the statement from the World Meteorological Organization, which is a special agency of the United Nations for authoritative voice of weather, climate, and water. In light of the increasing impact of weather, climate, and water extremes over the African continent due to climate change, the most vulnerability of the continent and the need for the whole Africa to urgently adapt to the impacts of climate change. The World Meteorological Organization supports strongly the development of the Nairobi Declaration, and also strongly committed to supporting the development of capacities for the generation of sound and impact-based information services for climate change adaptation and mitigation. In particular, WMO, together with the relevant UN agencies through the UN Early Warning for All, which is commissioned by the UN Secretary General, Mr. Guterres, to cover all the nations with early warning services by 2027, in the next 5 years. In supporting the strengthening of capacities of all the nations to generate and utilize the early warning services. In response, WMO, with the African Union Commission and other UN agencies, have just launched at this summit in the past 2 days, the African Regional Climate Statement and the African Regional Early Warning for All Action Plan to enable information for supporting national, regional, sustainable social-economic development. African solutions need a global support and also global contributions. Your Excellency, to garner the essential political support and provide strategic leadership for the early warning for all, WMO would like to confer the WMO continental champion role to His Excellency, the President William Ruto. And this is a great opportunity and also great honor. And I do believe this will provide the great support for the African climate solution. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Your Excellency, the certificate from World Meteorological Organization. Thank you so much.
Your Excellency, Moussa Faki, please also come and receive the certificate for all your hard work as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to now invite a ministerial response and ask the head of the delegation, His Excellency Mr. Kumaran Periasamy, the Additional Secretary of Economic Relations and Development Partnership, Ministry of External Affairs of the Government of India, to say a few words.
His Excellency Moussa Faki, Chairperson, African Union Commission, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of Kenya, Excellencies, Heads of State and Heads of Government, Ministers, dignitaries from various international organizations, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to represent the Government of India at this historic Africa Climate Summit. The conversations over the past 2 days are an important reminder for all of us that the pathway to effective and enduring global climate action goes through Africa and with Africa. That developing countries, and particularly Africa, lie at the front line of our response to global warming, climate justice, climate adaptation and mitigation, food security, and biodiversity conservation. On behalf of the Government of India, I would like to congratulate President William Ruto for leading from the front for Africa on this vital issue, and applaud the Africa Climate Summit for underscoring the salience of Africa in addressing the climate conundrum ahead of COP28 in the UAE. I extend our congratulations to Kenya and to the African Union on the adoption of the Nairobi Declaration that crafts an agenda for AU ambition and action. India will work with the African Union on forging effective international climate action that works for developing countries and for the African continent. While developing countries have contributed little to the climate-related challenges that we face today, we remain disproportionately affected by climate-induced disasters. Ladies and gentlemen, as this summit closes, another summit hosted by India is about to begin in New Delhi on 9th September that will bring together the G20 countries. Climate change has been a key priority of India's G20 presidency, and it will find ample reflection at the summit. Ambitious outcomes adopted by the G20 towards climate action include the G20 high-level principles on lifestyles for sustainable development, the G20 high-level principles for a sustainable and resilient blue economy, the G20 high-level voluntary principles on hydrogen, G20 voluntary action plan on doubling the global rate of energy efficiency improvement by 2030. We look forward to unveiling more initiatives at the G20 summit in Delhi. Excellencies, it is India's belief that the Global South has to be a much larger and more vocal participant in finding solutions to intractable global issues. While most of us resoundingly endorse the urgent call for climate action, the ability of developing countries to take effective climate action is interlinked with the availability of means of implementation, such as climate finance, transfer of technology, and capacity building. The world needs to come together to make available accessible, adequate, and affordable climate finance to the developing countries, including Africa, for effective climate action and meeting their NDCs. Developing countries cannot deploy low-carbon climate technologies at scale unless a facilitative global technology transfer regime is in place. Recognizing this, India has undertaken a number of initiatives to fight against climate change. India counts on Africa as an invaluable partner and ally in these efforts and initiatives that can help harvest our intersecting opportunities and address our shared challenges. President Ruto welcomed us to a brave new future in his address here. It is a vision of the future that resonates with us, a future that recognizes the interconnections that bind us, and a future where our potential as countries and as people have an opportunity to find their due expression. I close by saying you have India's steadfast partnership in this endeavor. Asante Nisana, thank you and namaskar.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, Africa speaks with one voice in telling the world, here we stand and change you must. Africa is the future of the world, and we are all so proud of the promises made and the progress in the Nairobi Declaration, and the $23 billion in commitments. Congratulations once again to all our leaders, especially to our President, Mheshimiwa Rais, for your leadership and your commitment. We now formally close the Africa Climate Summit, and we will, as you leave the room, play the especially commissioned summit song. So on behalf of all of Kenya, thank you so much, all of you, for coming here for this extremely important and critical conference at a critical juncture in the world today. Asante sana. I'll hand you over now to Mike Gitonga.
Thank you, Zain. Mine is just to give you the exit protocols as we now proceed to the KICC courtyard for final remarks to all and sundry and to the stakeholders. So we'll kindly allow the excellencies to leave through the VVIP exit. Then the rest of us, I'll kindly request that we use the right as we all now proceed to the KICC courtyard. Let's kindly settle and allow our excellencies to leave first. Then we proceed for the final part of this in the KICC courtyard. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, your excellencies, as we now proceed to the KICC courtyard. I'll also request that we have all those doors open to allow